Hey guys, I'm Miss Strickland here today with your reading lesson. You cannot see the standard, that's not good. There we go. Okay, so this week we have been talking all about asking and answering questions in a story and making predictions. And so on Monday we asked a question at the very beginning of the story, what will happen if you give a cat a cupcake? On day 2, we made a prediction at the beginning of the story about the magic school bus and what would happen with the magic school bus and the kids. And today we are working on asking and answering, making a prediction about a story in the middle of it. So our I can statement says, I can make predictions as I read a story. Okay, so today we are going to look at the garden, and this is a Frog and Toad together story. You guys are reading a Frog and Rabbit story, but this is our story this week if we had been in school from our Journeys textbook. So I thought it would be a good one to go ahead and read, and it goes great with making predictions. So I am going to go ahead and start reading, and I'm going to make a prediction in the middle of my story about the end of it. So this is The Garden from Frog and Toad Together by Arnold Lobel. Frog was in his garden. Toad came walking by. What a fine garden you have, Frog, he said. Yes, said Frog, it is very nice, but it was hard work. I wish I had a garden, said Toad. Here are some flower seeds. Plant them in the ground, said Frog, and soon you will have a garden. How soon? asked Toad. Quite soon, said Frog. Toad ran home. He planted the flower seeds. Now seeds, said Toad. Start growing. Toad walked up and down a few times. The seeds did not start to grow. Toad put his head close to the ground and said loudly, Now seeds, start growing. Toad looked at the ground again. The seeds did not start to grow. Toad put his head very close to the ground and shouted, Now seeds, start growing. Now, if it didn't work the first time and it didn't work the second time, I don't know that the seeds will grow just because Toad is shouting at them, but let's keep going. Frog kept running up the path. What is all this noise? He asked. My seeds will not grow, said Toad. You are shouting too much, said Frog. These poor seeds are afraid to grow. My seeds are afraid to grow? Asked Toad. Of course, said Frog. Leave them alone for a few days. Let the sun shine on them. Let the rain fall on them. Soon your seeds will start to grow. That night, Toad looked out of his window. Drat, said Toad. My seeds have not started to grow. They must be afraid of the dark. Toad went out to his garden with some candles. I will read the seeds a story, said Toad. Then they will not be afraid. Toad read a long story to his seeds. Do you think that Toad reading a story to his seeds will help them grow? Go ahead and make a prediction about that. All the next day, Toad sang songs to his seeds. And all the next day, Toad read poems to his seeds. And all the next day, Toad played music to his seeds. Toad looked at the ground. The seeds still did not start to grow. What shall I do? Cried Toad. These must be the most frightened seeds in the whole world. Then Toad felt very tired, and he fell asleep. All right, so we're not done yet with the story, but I'm going to stop right there, and I'm going to make a prediction. Because Toad has not got a night's sleep since he got his seeds, and so that made him so tired. So I'm thinking that Toad might stay asleep so long that his seeds start to grow when he wakes up. So I'm going to go ahead and write down my prediction, just like you will if you do option number 3 on your choice board. So I predict, oh, I'm starting to write Toad already. I predict Toad will sleep so long that his seeds will be grown when he wakes up. Okay, so my prediction is that Toad will sleep for so long that when he wakes up, his seeds will all be grown. So here we go. Let's keep going. Toad, wake up, said Frog. Look at your garden. Toad looked at his garden. Little green plants were coming up out of the ground. At last, shouted Toad, my seeds have stopped being afraid to grow. And now you will have a nice garden too, said Frog. Yes, said Toad, but you were right, Frog. It was very hard work. The end. Okay, so I made my prediction that Toad would sleep so long that his seeds would be grown when he wakes up. And they weren't grown all the way out, but they did start to grow when Frog woke him up. We'll go back to that page right here. You see his little sprouts of garden that are coming up. I will say that my prediction was pretty close to true. Because if I had predicted something like, when he wakes up, he will not have a garden or something like that, then that wouldn't have actually come true. But remember, if your prediction isn't correct, it's okay. All right, a prediction is just a guess. Okay, so it's important to remember that when you are making those predictions, it doesn't have to be the real thing. I'm not going to come back and erase all of this just because it didn't actually happen. Well, this time it did happen, but yesterday when I made my prediction about the school bus getting stuck in the flower and they didn't really, you didn't see me go back and erase all of it. All right, a prediction is just a guess, but it's something to keep your mind focused on what you're reading. Okay, so that's why we do this. We want to stay engaged and keep our mind on our story so we know what we're reading, because if we're just reading words, we're not actually reading. We have to know what our stories what is happening in our story and what's going on. So that is my story for today, the garden, my prediction for today in our reading lesson. All right, don't forget to get on iRead today for 20 minutes and iReady Math for 15 minutes, and I will see you guys at 2 o'clock and 3 o'clock for phonics. Bye.